Yeah, we're live.
Hey, hello, welcome back to another episode of Losing Picks Anonymous. Host Sauce. Actually, yesterday wasn't even that bad. I'm exaggerating. I was just pissed how it ended because Washington State +2 was my bet of the day, and it just sucks to lose the bet of the day at 1 in the morning. It kind of gives the whole day a little bit of a bad taste. But overall, I mean, the top bets were 4 and 3 yesterday, so it wasn't a terrible. Exaggerating. Anyway. So it's NFL Sunday, in case you haven't heard. Thank God we're not watching some 9 a.m. game in Yugoslavia right now. There's nothing on, which it's just more relaxing morning. Like before the kickoff of an NFL Sunday, I'm stressed, like biting my nails, like I'm pumped.
Yeah.
I pour my first drink, like an hour early because I'm just stressing. And you shouldn't wake up with that. Like I shouldn't be feeling that at 8:50 a.m. That should be like a 12:30 p.m. feeling. So I'm not a fan of those overseas games. Actually, I don't care that they're overseas. I'm not a fan that they mess the schedule up. Just put it like have it start at 6 p.m. over there and make it a 1 p.m. game. Seems simple enough.
Yeah, I've had enough of the Yugoslavian international series. We need to bring this football back to America.
Hashtag no more Yugoslavian football. All right. So you have the Bears at Jet. I don't have that first on our list.
So when I went to action, I just did it by the scheduling. And that was the first on the list. What's the first one you have? I'll just change it to that.
That's cool. I'll scroll down. No, we can start. Actually, go by my list. Ravens at Jags. I have first.
Okay. All right. Your list, your way. Ravens, Jags.
Yep. Ravens, Jags. All right, AJ, put me down for Jags +3 and under 43.5. Perfect spot to bet the Jags here. And I already know, like, right off the bat, we're starting off with a game where 3/4 of the viewership is rolling their eyes, possibly considering closing the YouTube app of their phones right now. But so the whole public is heavy on the Ravens, as you would expect. They're a much better team than Jacksonville. Still, this line drops from 4 to 3.5, despite a lot of the action being on Baltimore. So that rings beautifully in my ears to bet the Jags. As far as how they match up on the football field, it's obvious that Baltimore has definitely been more reliable recently, for sure. They've won 4 straight games, but the offense really hasn't been there, specifically the passing game. If you remember earlier in the season, Lamar Jackson was silencing haters. I mean, through 3 weeks, the Baltimore Ravens had the number 1 rated passing offense in the entire NFL. Those days are long gone. It's a complete opposite. Check this out. Lamar Jackson's QBR in weeks 1 through 3, right? First 3 weeks of the season was an average of 81.6. Great QBR there. In weeks 4 through 11, so since then, it's a 49.7. By the way, QBR is the one that includes quarterback rushing, too. So, I mean, he has just been analytically almost half as effective as he was for the first 3 weeks of the year. Obviously, Rashad Bateman on the IR hurts. Obviously, Mark Andrews not looking 100% definitely hurts. I'm not blaming it on Lamar Jackson. I'm just reading the numbers. I'm not a Lamar Jackson hater or anything. But the numbers don't lie. Bad team throwing the football. What's Jacksonville's strength on defense? Stopping the run. It's not elite or anything. But they're top 10 in most statistical categories when it comes to run defense. So I'm looking at it as Lamar Jackson on the road, laying 3.5 points in a game that he's going to have to perform at a level through the air. Have 2 months now. Now on the flip side, when the Jags have the ball, the Ravens defense has been great recently. In fact, like over the last 3 weeks, I think it is. Did I write it down? If you isolate I wrote down right here. Just the past 4 weeks, the Ravens are the second best defense analytically in the NFL. So the defense has been great. I'm not expecting a ton from Jacksonville offense, but I think Travis Etienne breaks a play or two. I think Jacksonville wins the game, but I'm only taking the points. So I'm taking the money line. 18-17.
Sean, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side here. I wanted to be on the Jags. I kind of went back and forth all week, but I settled on the Ravens -3.5. As long as Lamar is good to go in this one, if there's any news that comes out about hip or anything like pregame, then I'm completely off this. That being said, this team's 11th in defense is like a really complete football team. And I think people are forgetting how good they are because of how bad they looked last week versus the Panthers. But they actually had the on Panthers territory. Sorry, this is totally baffled notes. They had 7 drives into Panthers territory last week, and it only translated into 6 points. That's not going to happen every week for the Ravens. There's going to be positive regression there. And then I just get to backing this Jaguars team. If I look at their schedule, they've played absolutely nobody besides the Eagles and Chiefs. And the Eagles game was played in the monsoon, so it's hard for me to really gauge how good that performance was. And for the Chiefs, the Jaguars had 4 extra possessions in that game and finished +3 in turnover margin and still lost by 10 in that game. So that just shows me that their defense does ball out. This offense still is not done. And I think the Ravens are going to score in this one. I just can't back this Jags offense when it comes to having to win the game where the opposing team is scoring into the 20s.
Yeah. So, Sean, just speak up just a little bit more because people are having trouble hearing you. So I would just put that. I know there's a little bit of connection issues right now. We'll try and storm through that. I don't know what that's about, but I see the comments are talking about it. Sorry about that. I'm going to go with the under 43.5 here. I'm not quite as confident about it as I was yesterday, making this like probably a full unit bet. But I do definitely think that there's some strong points to the under. I mean, first of all, the Ravens have gone under their last 6 to 7 games. And not only is it because their defense has been outstanding, but the offense is simply struggling. The red zone issues, that wasn't just a problem last week against Carolina. This has been a problem for weeks now. And the Jaguars, as bad as they are defensively, guess what they are in red zone percentage at home? Second. They're allowing opponents to score on just 22% of their trips to the red zone at home. So I'm just not really seeing it in terms of offense for the Ravens. And then when we talk about the goddamn Jaguars, I'm sick of this team. I think they're borderline as close to as bad as it gets. They can lean on ETN all they want, but with Patrick, what is it? Yeah, I believe it's Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith forming this new duo that just claps running backs. I'm not seeing it. I'm really not. Give me the under. The only reason I'm bumping this down in terms of a full unit to like half unit, 0.75 units, is the fact that all the money and all the bets on the under, and this did move from 45.5 to 43.5 on Tuesday, but it hasn't moved since. That is definitely concerning.
All right, yeah, I'm on the under too, and I just muted my mic and listened to it on my phone a little bit. It doesn't sound that bad. Maybe it was skipping before and it stopped. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, so move on to the next game, which on mine is Bucks at Browns.
Alrighty, let's talk Bucks Browns.
All right, so I wanted to here because the public's definitely leaning Tampa Bay. Bucks certainly haven't looked great, but actually I'm on Tampa Bay. The more I looked into it, I actually really like the Bucks here. So give me Tampa Bay -3.5. I'm also taking the Cleveland team total under 19.5, which is at an even -110 on DraftKings. So let me start by saying the Browns played well last week. I know they didn't cover. They lost by 8 to the Bills in Detroit. Weird enough. But they controlled the majority of that game. And I think the most important takeaway was Cleveland's defense against the pass. Certainly Josh Allen hasn't been himself lately, but to hold Josh Allen 197 passing yards, 1 touch in that dome or whatever the hell. Yeah, dome. It's definitely a solid defensive job. In fact, Cleveland outgained the Buffalo Bills in that game, 396 to 357. So all signs point to them catching 3.5 points at home is a beautiful, sharp play. But isn't this exactly on par with what we've grown to expect from the Cleveland Browns, especially this season? Week in and week out, because of the pass rush, because of their run game, because of Jacoby Brissett's efficiency, week in and week out, the numbers tell us to bet Cleveland. They tell us that Cleveland is the right side. And week after week, they find a way to not cover. So even though, yeah, Cleveland looked great playing the Bills last week, I'm them again. I see differences here. And you know what? I like how the line moved from 3 to 3.5, by the way. At 3, it was looking a little iffy. At 3.5, it shows me like, all right, the books are scared of these Bucks tickets that are coming in. raises my confidence a little bit. One thing I want to say about the Bucs is their run play. They're dead last in the NFL, right? 32nd. Nobody drops pass as frequently as the Bucs. That's on the season. But last week they ran the ball 44 times compared to just 30 dropbacks. They ran the ball more often in their last game than anyone in the NFL, with the exception of the Bears and Falcons. I think being a transition in the Bucs offense, I think they're making Rachaad White the focal point. And not that I think Rachaad White is some kind of superstar. I don't. But he was nice last game against Seattle. But most importantly, look what him being the focal point does to the rest of the Bucs offense. Tom Brady's stat line, 20 of 29, 258, 8.9 yards per attempt, efficient as hell. And that's exactly what Tom Brady needs. I mean, he should not be dropping back to pass 45 times a game. 65-year-old offense could function over the course of the season like that, and I think they're transitioning towards an offense I can get behind. So I'm fading Cleveland. Brissett's game as the guy for the Browns. Deshaun Watson comes back next game, so I expect him to try to do too much, actually, and I could see a couple turnovers here. The secondary certainly has looked better since getting Carlton Davis and Murphy Bunting back, their two corners. So I'm going to lay the points with Tampa and take the Cleveland team total under.
Yeah, so I like both of those bets. Kyle, I would just try and unplug and replug your mic because I'm not going to lie, it does sound pretty choppy. So I can confirm what the comments are saying. Now, in terms of this game, my favorite play for this game is a play on Rachaad White. I am all over the Rachaad White hype train. A lot of the fancy analysts that I listened to going into the season were all over Rachaad White, saying how talented this kid is. And now he's going to play a Browns rush defense that looks dreadful lately. Let's go ahead and look at some of the recent rushing performances against Cleveland. Devin Singletary, a guy who, A, barely gets the ball, and B, isn't that efficient, ran for 86 yards on them on 4.8 yards per carry. Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson both averaged more than 7 yards per carry against them and had 25 carries in that game combined. What I'm noticing is that if the Browns are facing a team that passes a lot, like a true passing threat, such as a Josh Allen, as a Tua, they cannot stop the run whatsoever. They are so busy committing to stopping the pass that the run game, they are just getting blown by in the run game. Now, my favorite play for this game would probably be over rush attempts for Rachaad White, but they're not dropping that line yet because they're scared. It's okay. Good for the Bucs. But I'm going to go with the rushing yards at minus 115, over 65.5 yards. I just looked at the weather report for this game, and guess what? It's supposed to be very shitty conditions there. I'm expecting a lot of rush attempts for Rachaad White, and against a defense that is unholy inefficient, I think that there's going to be a ton of opportunity for White to do so. So Kyle just left the stream. I'm assuming he's about to reconnect. Sean, what's your point?
Yeah, I'm on the Bucs here as well. I personally already played it at 3 in a week. I still like it at 3.5. To Kyle's point, it seems like every week you watching the game, you feel like they're like in it and they're playing good, and then you look at the scoreboard and somehow they're down by 10 more. Every week, it's very weird watching this team this year. And yeah, it's Jacoby Brissett's last game. He's a dead man walking. The Browns are just hoping he would keep them afloat and get ready for Deshaun Watson to lead them to a playoff push. That's not going to happen. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. So I feel like the team is just ready to move on and then finally see what they have in Deshaun. And to your point, I do like White's over rushing yards. It's kind of like Zeke and Tony Pollard situation. When you watch him, he's just clearly more explosive than Leonard Fournette has been behind his Bucs O-line. He's a much better pass catcher out the backfield as well. Yeah, I had to take the Bucs here. Tom Brady's 2-0 since the divorce, so I'm going to keep riding that train.
Gotta love it. The man is playing.
All right, hopefully I sound. I guess we'll find out in time. I just disconnected and reconnected real quick. The next game I have is Bears at Jets, and I really don't want to talk about this game. I guess Justin Fields has been confirmed out, right? That happened about 20 minutes ago, I believe.
Just about all confirmed out, yes. All
right, so Justin Fields out. Obviously, what are the Chicago Bears without Justin Fields? He's been every single play has just. If you look at the best the Chicago Bears plays over the past month. Like every single one is a Justin Fields broken sack and then a run. Here's the thing, though. I have 3 bets here, and I want everyone to take into consideration I'm betting none of these heavy at all. So ready? I have Jets -7. I'm also gonna bet, and this is such a cop out. You guys are gonna hate this. I'm betting Bears first half +3.5. And check this weird one out. I'm betting Chicago to score first and lose. On DraftKings, that's +75. All right. It's a weird bet. It's going to be super light. I might put $100 on it. For me, that's less than a half unit. So check it out. We really don't know what Matt Eberflus's passing playbook even looks like to some extent. Justin Fields, as crazy of an athlete as he is, definitely has some limitations throwing the ball. Keep in mind, they hired Luke Getsy to be the OC out there in Chicago. This dude worked with Aaron Rodgers in the Packers offense for most of his career, a large chunk of his career. By no means is Trevor Siemian good, but I can definitely see the Jets defense getting caught off guard here. Maybe the Bears come out in a couple sets that don't exist on film right now that no one's seen. You got an OC that likes to throw the ball that's been working with a quarterback that doesn't really throw it that well. So I just think if the Bears receive that they will maybe even just a field goal, I think they will score in the first drive of the game. And I mean, is anyone going to be surprised if Mike White struggles? I mean, I know he last year had a little bit of Mike White magic, but I mean, there's a reason this dude was third string to start the season behind Wilson and Flacco. He's not that talented. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike White struggles, especially to start the game. So Jets -7, Bears first half +3.5, Chicago to score first and lose. I don't like the game at all.
Absolute madman behavior putting 3 bets on this game, but you gotta love it. It's degenerate at its finest. Sean, what are you betting in this one?
Yeah, I'm on the Jets in this one. It's an ugly game, but this Jets defense versus Trevor Siemian, it's pretty much the handicap for me stops right there. I don't know if Mike White is going to be that much of an upgrade over Zach Wilson, but you have to imagine with how Wilson has played, it's at least some type of upgrade over what Wilson was doing for them. But then you take a look at this Jets defense. It's a top 10 unit, pass rush and secondary playing really well. This Bears offensive line is the worst in the NFL. Justin Fields' rushing ability was able to mask that, and people kind of forgot that because the Bears were still moving the ball. But it was all Fields' legs. If you watch the games, he wasn't sitting back there and able to find guys because he had no time to throw. Siemian is not a runner. He's going to be a statue back there. The Jets are going to be able to get after him and put him on the dirt. This is going to be an ugly, ugly game. I think it could be like a 17-6 Jets win.
Yeah, so thank God I'm a prop guy because I don't want to bet any of the lines in this game. This game is horrendous. But I did find a prop that I actually truly love, and I think the value on this is obscene. Cole Kmet over 30.5 receiving yards, -115. Now, they made this line a little bit lower because Justin Fields is out, and he's gained a nice little rapport with Fields over the past 5 games, cashing his last 4 or 5 games. Why on earth would they move the line down? That's actually a good thing. I mean, Justin Fields runs the ball so many times that he's not getting the true target share that Cole Kmet deserves. But if you look at him without Justin Fields in his lone 5 games, he has 8 receptions, 3 receptions, 4 receptions, 3 receptions, 4 receptions. That's more than the 2 receptions he's getting with Justin Fields. And on top of that, he's got 65, 41, 49, and 48 yards in those games. Now he's going to face a Jets defense that's going to have Reed and Gardner on the outside against Mooney and Claypool. With the pass rush that the Jets have and the offensive line that the Bears have, I truly wish Siemian great luck in trying to get the ball to either of those guys. Going to be a very hard time doing that. What he is going to do is he's going to have to get the ball out very quickly, and there he's going to find Cole Kmet. I mean, the Jets, if you look at what they do give up in terms of yardage, they are giving up yards to tight ends. They're allowing the 8th most yards per game, and they're allowing the 11th most pass attempts per game. If there's any weakness in this Jets pass defense, it's that, and I don't think they could just rely on the run here. Dave Montgomery, go look at that man's game logs. He looks flat out terrible, and I love Dave Montgomery, but his inefficiency has been horrendous. Now take away the rushing threat of Justin Fields, and the Jets are going to know exactly what's coming. Just going to be a ton of David Montgomery carries. Wouldn't be surprised if the guy averages 3.1 yards per carry today. Give me Cole Kmet.
All right. I think my mic is still skipping a little bit, so whatever. We'll just do the best we can. I
It
think
wasn't
Sean's
as
is
bad
skipping
as
too.
before. Yeah, it's a little
Uh,
skippage on. What were we gonna say?
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing. I was just you answered my question. All right, next
Okay.
game I have Bengals at Titans.
Mhm.
All right, Public's on the Titans here. Sharps are definitely on the Bengals. I'm on the Bengals too. Give me Cincinnati -1.5. So Joe Mixon is out. Obviously that's a hit. But DJ Reader's back in the lineup for that and that's huge. Before he got hurt earlier in the year, he was the #1 rated defender against the run on the season, ahead of Aaron Donald. This dude was a run stopper to the max. He's a defensive tackle, by the way. Now, does he jump back in the lineup and make an immediate impact and shut down Derrick Henry? Of course not. But still, it can only help. And this is a Bengals run defense that's pretty good. Even the Cleveland game when they got stomped, a lot of people just look at that game. They're like, oh, wow, Browns rushed for 172 yards and 3 touchdowns. They really ran all over Cincinnati. That's kind of true, but Cleveland ran the ball 44 times. That comes out to be just 3 yards a carry. So the Browns won that game on third down. They went 8 of 13 on third downs. I wouldn't. If you run the ball 44 times, you're going to get a lot of yards, whether you're running the ball well or not. If you really sit back and take a look at the Bengals' schedule, they're 6-4 on the year. But remember, they started off 0-2. So this is a team that's won 6 of its last 8 football games, despite having a few injuries. And more specifically, they've been really good on the road. They went on the road, shit out of the Jets. They went on the road and covered in Baltimore. They just won and covered against the Steelers last week. The only outlier is that Cleveland game, and Joe Burrow just never plays the Browns well. Cincinnati on the road's been a solid bet recently. Yeah, Joe Mixon out, it sucks, but it's not like he's been that effective running the ball for Cincinnati. He's done most of his damage catching passes out of the backfield. That's exactly what Samaje Perine does. He fits right into that passing back role. Titans defense is against the run, but I think it's beatable through the air. I'll lay the point next.
Sean, what do you got for this one?
Yeah, I'm not on the Bengals, but I would never be on the Titans. If I had to bet aside, the Bengals only. That being said, my favorite bet in this one is the over 43. I talked about it last night with you guys, and then earlier in the week was saying that I really like the game. Not being back here, I mean, this Bengals passing attack is still very good with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and then Hayden Hurst at tight end. And I'll put it out, yeah, it's going to be without Joe Mixon, but Samaje Perine, in my opinion, is a better receiving back. This offense is still going to be hitting on all cylinders. They may take a step back a little bit in the run game, but their Bengals are typically a pass-first offense anyway. And then while over here, there's injuries for the Titans, but then flip the game script for the Titans. Typically, they're a ground game. They want to one clock at the time, and the East team. That's not going to be the case in this one. They're not going to be able to run the ball as effectively as they always, as they usually do. They're going to have to throw it, and the Bengals secondary is still banged up. Titans wide receivers now have Treylon Burks back. This Tannehill is going to be working with a full slate of weapons in this one, and I expect him to have success throwing through the air. And with both teams passing the ball, that creates a lot of volatility, whether it's a quick plays because you're passing through the air, or whether it's short drives set up by the defenses off. I think you're going to typically higher scoring game here. I think this should be lined in the mid to high 40s instead of the low 40s here, so I'm over 43 for me.
Word. I'm gonna go
You have
with
a prop?
Yeah, I actually got 2 props, maybe even 3 in this game. I actually really like this game a lot. I'm going with the Bengals, so that's first off. But I'm also going with Burrow over 36.5 pass attempts. I tweeted this out yesterday, or I believe 2 days ago. No, it was yesterday. And it was on all books at 36.5. But now FanDuel's the only one at 36.5. So I would still definitely ride there if you have that book. 37.5 is a little less enticing. Now, here's the thing with the Titans. The Titans' rush defense is so goddamn good. I mean, they're first in rush DVOA. They're first in adjusted line yards, 5th in yards per carry allowed to running backs. And now you're going to take Joe Mixon out of the picture. I don't think that they intend on feeding Samaje Perine too much in this game, at least not on the ground. I could see them getting him involved through the air, but not on the ground. And that comes to play in the fact that the Titans, since nobody's running against them, teams are passing against them at like an unholy rate. Not only are they leading the NFL in opponent pass play percentage, but they're also leading the NFL in opponent pass attempts per game. We've seen, and as a result, the last 9 of 10 quarterbacks to face the Titans have gone over not only their individual attempts mark, but this mark itself. And if you look at Burrow against teams in the top 5 of attempts allowed, he's faced the Ravens, the Falcons, and the Steelers. He cashed in 3 or 4 games and averaged 43 attempts in those ones. Against a rush defense this stout, I expect him to fly over that. And then the other play that I'm going to put in is Tyler Boyd. I think I'm going to go with the receiving yards. Not exactly sure. Follow me if you want to confirm whether I'm going to go receiving yards or receptions. But just go ahead and look at what slot receivers are doing to the Titans right now. If you look at the Green Bay game, Randall Cobb, 6 receptions, 6 targets, 73 yards. Very good. Kendall Hinton wind up playing the slot because Jerry Jeudy left the Tennessee game early. He had 4 receptions on 5 targets for 62 yards. McCole Hardman plays the slot. He had 6 receptions, 79 yards. Paris Campbell plays the slot. He had 10 receptions, 70 yards. You get the point. The total for Tyler Boyd today is ridiculously high, 53.5. I mean, he hasn't even sniffed that in the last 3 games, yet they're posting it that high. The books don't want us taking that over. I'm going to take it. Give me Boyd over 53.5 receiving yards as well.
All right, 2 props from the Bengals game. Switching on to the next one. You have Texans Dolphins next. Let's see. I have Texans Dolphins next. All right, cool. Oh shit, it's Texans Dolphins. Give me Houston plus 14. This sucks, man. I'm not laying 14 points in an NFL game, especially with a team that doesn't even really play great defense. Houston Texans are awful, right? I think we can all agree on that. But want to know how many times the Texans, the worst team in the NFL, has been beaten by 2 touchdowns this year? Guess how many? Once. One time. The Raiders beat Houston by 18 points. And the Texans have played some teams. They played the Eagles. They I mean, it's not like they haven't played anybody. It's just that they're not getting blown out. To lay 14 points to them with a team that doesn't play the best defense. If Miami was powered by the run game, I maybe could consider it. But this offense lives by 2 wide receivers. Yeah, Jeff Wilson has given them a boost in the run game as of late. But as a whole, they're still a pass-first team to the max. And it's not like Houston can stop the pass. It's not like, oh, man, you can run on Houston, but don't try to pass. Like, you can throw on Houston, too. It's just I'd feel more confident because the Houston Texans are having, like, a historically bad year defending the run. It's, like, some of the worst run defense we've ever seen. I'm not trying to make a case for the Texans to win. It's just 14 points is crazy. If I'm laying 14 in an NFL game, I'd better be the best team in the NFL with no injuries against the worst team in the NFL with injuries in a bad spot on short or some shit. This just ain't it. I mean, I don't even know if I have the Dolphins in the top 5 teams in the NFL. I mean, keep in mind, the Steelers came into Miami recently. Well, no, not recently. That was like 4 or 5 weeks ago. Came into Miami and held this Dolphins offense to 16 points. That was without TJ Watt. There's always a highlight reel tax, right, in sports betting. And the Dolphins have awesome highlights. If you watch the highlights of the Dolphins, this team is sick. But are they really covering spreads? Like, seriously, look, are they covering the number week in and week out? No, they're 1-5-1 against the spread in their last 7 games. Since week 4, they're 32, 31, 30. They're 29th in the NFL in profit and money, like as far as the most profitable teams if you bet on them every week. Only the Bucks, Rams, and Jags have brought in less money than the Dolphins since week 4, and now they're asking us to lay 14. No way. Won't be a big bet.
Yeah. I think that both of my bets kind of play into each other. So my bet of the week, 1.5 units, is going to be Wilson over 81.5 rush yards. That is coming in at, I believe, minus 115. I put a full unit on that, but then I'm also putting a full unit on 100 plus yards. at plus 174 on FanDuel. 1 second. Sorry, I'm having a tough time with this friggin' typing right now. All right. Now, so why do I like this bet?
He's having a tough time with the typing.
I have a tough time just living life, breathing, walking, doing normal activities. So this is just adding on to the list. I really like Jeff Wilson to go off today, guys. Jeff Wilson, if you look metrically, is probably one of the most explosive and efficient running backs in the NFL, crazy enough. If you look at breakaway percentage, if you look at designed runs of 15-plus yards, if you look at explosive play percentage, he has better numbers than your favorite running back, better than Barkley, better than Derrick Henry, better than Jonathan Taylor. And I forget the fourth guy that I'm omitting right now, but all four of those guys ran for 140-plus yards against the Houston Texans. The last 9 of 10 running backs to face Houston have cashed their over, and running backs with 16-plus attempts or more are 5-2 to 100-plus yards. Simply put, they're going to play a lot of too-high shell. They don't want Hill or Waddle burning them deep, and what that's going to do is that's going to create some massive holes in the running game, and Jeff Wilson should take full opportunity. There's no Raheem Mostert in this game. He just faced a very similarly horrible Cleveland rush defense and only got the ball 16 times, ran it for 119 yards. This is the Houston Texans, for Christ's sakes. Opponents are running 53% of the time. 53% of the time. I mean, come on now. I think that this number is obscenely high for a low-caliber running back for a reason. I think Jeff Wilson puts on a goddamn show today.
This is the Houston Texans, for Christ's sakes. All right, Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty much locked in with Beaver. I'm on the Texans plus 14, but my analysis and thoughts on the game is in line with his thoughts exactly. I think the Dolphins are going to come out and and run the ball in this one. Obviously, they've been a pass-first offense all year, and Derek Stingley not being out there for the Texans in the secondary is definitely worrisome. But that being said, the Texans can't stop the run. I expect a heavy dose of Wilson in this one. No Mostert in there, so it is going to be the Jeff Wilson show. That being said, what happens when the team runs the ball early? It's going to eat up a lot of clock, going to limit possessions, and they're going to control time of possession, and it's going to make it harder for the Dolphins to essentially pull away and cover this big number at 2 touchdowns. And then on the flip side, the Texans are a team that wants to run the ball as well, with Dameon Pierce, and I think they can have success versus Dolphins team. I could never imagine laying 14 with defenses as Dolphins. They give up 30 points, it feels like, routinely every week. And then Kyle Allen making his first start of the season for the Texans. Don't know what to expect. He was like okay in flashes with the Panthers a couple years ago, but then he fell off a cliff again, and you realize why he's a backup. But this Dolphins, it's pretty much a fate of this Dolphins for me, and why I'm taking the Texans plus 14. And I think the game script is going to coincide with the Dolphins running the ball and eating the clock up.
Yeah, I mean, if the Texans had someone else at quarterback other than Davis Mills, I'd maybe be like, oh, wow, this is a drop-off to Kyle Allen. But, like, Davis Mills, he's playing so poorly that how much worse could Kyle Allen possibly be? Davis Mills has been terrible. So I don't really...
I got one last thing to add. Guess who the 49ers played? Guess who the Dolphins play next week? I just spoiled it. The 49ers. They played the goddamn 49ers last week. McDaniel used to coach with the team. I'm expecting him to pull out all the stops in that game. Potential flat spot for Miami this week.
Okay. I mean, I think the Dolphins can beat the Texans by 30 in a flat spot, but...
Oh, no, they should crib walk their way to this victory, but let's be a little sharp here. Let's have some goddamn goal.
All right, so what's next? Commanders, Falcons, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, give me Atlanta plus 3.5. Let me start by saying that I picked Washington to win the NFC East this year. My 3 best division bets were Vikings to win the NFC North, Titans to win the AFC South, and Commanders to win the NFC East. Probably not going to happen. But the reason I'm saying that is I want to establish that I'm not a Washington hater. So, like, if you're a Commanders fan, like, don't take the following personally. But the public is really heavy on Washington here, and I completely see why. Look at their last 2 games. They beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football in front of the entire world, and then they comfortably handled the Houston Texans last week. But if you take a look at last week's game, score was 20-0 at half. Final score of that game was 20-10. The Texans won the second half of that game 10-3. Now, you might be thinking, gives a shit. But the reason I want to point that out is that's what Washington looks like when they're trying to be the better team and hold the clock. That's not what Washington does. We know that Taylor Heineke can make plays as the underdog and make those plays no one expects him to make, but it's a completely different atmosphere when you're longer the look-ahead game. Like, teams are coming in and you're all of a sudden the team to beat in a lot of these matchups. That's what that second half of that Texans game, that's what the Washington Commanders team looks like as the favorite. I just mentioned in the game how poor the Texans are at stopping the run. They are disgusting. They hold Washington to 3.8 yards a carry. I mean, for those of you who aren't analytics people, I mean, that's the best defensive performance by the Houston Texans defense against the run all year. Washington can't run it. You might be thinking, oh, well, Taylor Heineke must have snapped on the Texans. No, not at all. Taylor Heineke threw for 190 yards. In fact, Taylor Heineke is averaging just 206 passing yards per game since he took over as the starter. Despite what you may think, the Commanders have zero offense. It's not good. They are finding a way to win games, but it's not good. You want to know how many times Washington franchise, because they've had 3 different names in 3 years, want to know how many times they've been favored by more than a field goal in the last 3 years? Twice. And both of those games were against the New York Giants. One of them without Daniel Jones. Jake Fromm was starting. We're seeing a Commanders team playing 4 now. It's gotten too far. And then I love how everyone's on Washington, except they still drop the line from 4 to 3.5. Definitely on the Falcons here. I think this is a field goal game either way. I can see Washington winning, but I mean, I think this is 19-16, 17-14, something like that.
That's cool. You done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The commies. Are we kidding people? Listen, sharps, public. Let's throw all that stuff aside, right? Let's just talk some goddamn football here. And the Atlanta Falcons are simply pissed. The run game isn't working as well for them as late. Now they have to face the number 1 rush defense. You take Kyle Pitts out of the offense. Now opponents can focus even more on the run game and defending Drake London. Like, I'm truly struggling to understand how they're going to put up even 16 points here. And while the Washington offense has been horrible at home, horrible. I believe they're like 29th in DVOA. This is goddamn Taylor Heineke. This is the guy who's 10-2-1 against the spread in his last 13, 6-0-1 against the spread in his last 7 starts. And let's just call a spade a spade. They win with this guy. And another thing that I noticed that I thought was pretty key is the amount of sacks that this team lets up with and without Taylor Heineke. So with Wentz, they allowed 27 sacks through 6 games. With Heineke, they've allowed 9. The guy doesn't take sacks. The Falcons don't have a pass rush. Maybe we actually see Heineke have some success with that arm today. If you look at Taylor Heineke's game logs, the games where he doesn't have success is against great pass rushes. But when he has some time, he can produce. And simply put, the Falcons are struggling. These are just teams in completely opposite trajectories. The Falcons have covered just 1 of their last 5 games. And the only thing the Falcons could essentially do if they are to pass the ball is the short game. But guess what? Washington, they're 8th in short pass DVOA. I would love to go sharp here, but everything's telling me Washington. Give me the Commanders.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on the Commanders as well. It's scary. I don't like the fact that the public's all over it, but like Beaver pointed out before we were talking before the show, I would hate myself if I was on the Falcons and it didn't cover. It's just like I would rather lose with the Commanders than lose with the Falcons.
I really would.
Basically for that one. But yeah, I think Heineke and this Washington offense can have success versus Falcons defense. I mean, they're 28th in DVOA defensively. And then after I saw Marcus Mariota try to complete a pass backwards off his ass in that Thursday night game versus the Panthers, I'm all the way out on this Falcons offense. And I think Washington's D is going to be able to harass Mariota and make it a long day. Atlanta wants to run the ball primarily with Cordell Patterson. Washington's run defense has been very good. And then also no Kyle Pitts for them. I know the head coach of the Falcons, Arthur Smith, is an idiot and doesn't use Kyle Pitts, but that's a big guy out there, whether he's being used as a decoy, blocker, or receiver. That's a big loss to this already bad Falcons offense.
Keep in mind here, so the way I handicap games is I obviously see why the line is 3.5 and why the Washington is favored, but it's clear that the books like Atlanta for dropping the line despite the action being on Washington. So the way I do it is I find out who the books like and then try to side with them as much as I can. And I was able to find some angles here. I don't love the Falcons, but I think I like them enough that they'll probably be in the top 7 bets.
Okay.
Next game is Denver, Carolina. Jesus Christ.
Talk about a goddamn heater. We are talking about possibly the greatest offensive display we've ever seen.
All right, give me Denver -1.5. Shit, man. Am I about to actually give a sales pitch for the fucking Russell Wilson? Like feels. All right, so here's my ankle. I know laying points with Denver on the road seems criminal right now. But if you actually look at Denver's drives last week against the Raiders, right? If you just look, they lost 22-16 at home to the Raiders. It's a terrible look. But in the first 3 drives of the game, ready? Denver had a 92-yard touchdown drive, then a 34-yard field goal drive, then a 79-yard drive that ended in a missed field goal. That was the whole first half. They only touched 3 times. They had 205 total yards on 3 drives with. That's efficient offense. I'm not going to sit here and Broncos. Russell Wilson, but they have no run game at all. Latavius Murray is RB1 now. Apparently, but
guess who's RB2? Guess who's RB2? Marlon Mack.
Oh yeah, I picked him up in like my really deep league. Horrible. There's almost nothing to like about this offense, but keep in mind they're playing the Carolina Panthers. Carolina got the luckiest cover of all time last week. They lost 13-3 to Baltimore, and the Ravens punted the ball twice. From in the fourth quarter, they punted the ball twice from the Carolina 40 and the Carolina 42. They did not deserve the cover. The Ravens played terrible and still were able to blow the Panthers out. The final score of that game should have been like 24-3, 27-3, somewhere in that range. My greatest fear here would be Carolina's probably going to be able to make a few plays in the run game against the Denver defense. Obviously, Broncos specialize in stopping the pass. Slowing down the run game has been a problem, but overall, there's nothing about Carolina that I like. I'm a little, because I know that I believe both of these guys are about to tell you to bet the under, and I'm a little worried about that because I think both of these, everyone's going to bash these two offenses, right? And they deserve it. But I think the defenses, both of them are getting a little too much praise. I don't think the defenses are as good as people think. So I'm scared. I'll probably tail them on the under, maybe for a half unit, but I'll play the Broncos reluctantly.
Yeah. So give me the Panthers +1.5 and give me the under in this game at 36.5. I now see it at a little bit concerning that already low line moved a bit up because I thought that they were going to stay strong, hold the line, and maybe even move that bitch down. But listen, simply put, if we're talking about the two strengths of both these teams, it's obviously the defenses. This is the third lowest total set in the past decade. So Vegas does not like these teams to score. And simply put, neither do I. The weather is not supposed to be great today. It's supposed to be rainy with some strong gusts of wind. And if we're going to talk about a rainy game, talk about a game where defense is the focus, what am I looking for? I'm looking for where the biggest mismatch is. And I would probably say that that's the running game with the Carolina Panthers against the Denver Broncos rushing defense. We've seen the Broncos rushing defense step up probably once in the past 5 games. And that was against Derrick Henry, who they knew was going to get fed. And guess what happened? Tannehill tore that ass up in the play action game. I'm not saying Sam Darnold's a great quarterback, but I think they're going to ask very little of him today. And low key, this Broncos defense is not looking great as of late. I'm not liking what I'm seeing from them. Meanwhile, the Panthers defense, I mean, they're looking quite strong. They've allowed just 18 points in their last 2 home games. And on top of that, they've covered their last 4 or 5 against the spread. I think that Sam Darnold is fighting literally for his future in the NFL in this game. Because if he continues to stink, if he stinks out the rest of the games, the guy's not going to get a chance anywhere else. This is the time to make a nice start. I think he's going to try and put his best foot forward. Same with Steve Wilkes, who's coaching for the Panthers. He's going to want a job next season. This is his audition. The Broncos have looked like they've all but given up. Give me the Panthers.
Yeah,
Sean,
I'm
you're
not
on the
in
under.
there on the side in this one. But I'm going to be on the under 36, or 36.5, whichever it is. The Broncos would be 9-1 if they just scored 18 points a game on offense. They are 3-7, by the way. That you can pretty much take their offense not scoring points to the bank in this one. And I think this Panthers D is underrated, as AJ pointed out. They're actually playing really well as of late. But then this Broncos D, while they can be had on the run, their secondary is phenomenal. They've been shut down versus the pass all year long. But if the Panthers are going to have success, it is going to be on the ground in this one. And again, when I'm playing it under, that's what I want. I want a team that's primarily going to try to run the ball on the ground, and eat up that clock and limit possessions in that one. So I don't know. I can't get to a side in this one. So you guys are brave men. You're a lot braver than me. But that being said, this total is super low and scary, but I think it's super low and scary for a reason. I'm going to bank on these 2 shitty offenses to just continue being shitty.
I actually like this comment that this guy Steve Cavallero put. The Broncos defense is tired and disgusted. I don't know if that could be more accurate. They're on the field the entire game, and they're probably sick of putting up phenomenal performances and getting zero help.
I can feel that. I mean, you could probably make some the Carolina Panthers are disgusted comments as well, though.
No, they're just disgusted overall. There's
all right.
over there.
I am on an island here, and not only is the public Raiders, but the Sharps. I mean, not only is the public on the Seahawks, Sharps love the Seahawks too. So I'm officially the only person. I stand alone on the Las Vegas Raiders +4. All right. So Seattle's the most public bet on the board this week, so obviously I'm going to fade it. But the thing is, the reason it's scary is Seattle's been the most public bet on the board several times this year, and they've been kind of crushing it from that spot. They did just lose to Tampa Bay, but before that, it was like 3 of the previous 4 the most public bet on the board and cashed. So that is normally in a normal NFL year, if you fade the most public bet on the board, you have a great hit rate. It's just not really been the case, especially when it comes to Seattle. And I'm pissed because I finally caved and bet the Seahawks as the public side against the Bucs, and it bit me in the ass. So obviously, does anyone have an update on Josh Jacobs? I've read Game Time Decision. Is that still the case?
That guy, Ari Myrov, I believe he said that he's expected to play.
He's expected to play 1 hour ago. Yep, cool. All right, so I like that. And that's kind of my angle. So the Seahawks made that defensive switch about a half ago. Remember, we talked about it on YouTube a bunch of times. And they were lights out, especially against the run. But it looks like that magic is starting to wear off. If you look at the last game, Seahawks, first Arizona rushed for 122 yards on 5.8 yards per carry. And then Tampa Bay just rushed for 162 yards on 4.5 yards a carry. That's 2 teams that can't run the ball, just ran the ball on Seattle. And we know that Seattle had that hot streak, right? They had won 4 games in a row. Kenneth Walker Smith were getting all the hype. Obviously, deservingly so. They were playing well. But it was that red hot defense that fueled that winning streak. It's not like their offense was it's like a solid offense. It's not an offense. They were right. It's not playing at the level it was in October. This number's too high. Offense is good, but it's certainly not top 5. It might not even be top 10. If you just isolate the month of November, the Raiders' offense is 4th in DVOA and Seattle's is 12th. And then defensively, Seattle's 23rd. The Raiders are 31st. This won't be a huge bet, but I think this line is just a clear inflation of the Seahawks, and I don't trust the Seahawks defense like I did 3 weeks ago. I'll take the Raiders +4. Sean, tell us why you're betting the Seahawks.
I'm going to be real with you. We've talked about the Trevor Siemian and Mike White. We're taking the Jets minus a full touchdown. We talked about taking the Texans +14 versus the Dolphins. This is my least favorite bet of the week. Seahawks -4. I'm just going to be I'd feel much more comfortable taking the Jets minus a full touchdown than I do the Seahawks -4 in this game. Only because you don't know what you're getting from the Raiders on a week-to-week basis, honestly. Like, this offense and team has the potential and talent to put up 30 points a game. Like, I feel like on any given week, this defense, like Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, when the hell are you going to show up and actually get a pass rush? Like, that is still a thing that just happened. They just haven't got it done this year. They're ranked 32nd in DVOA, which is insane to me with the talent on that defensive line for the Raiders. But that being said, the Seahawks were rolling until that Bucks game in Germany and a foreign country versus the GOAT, who's won more games on continents than any quarterback in or countries than any quarterback in NFL history. It's hard. I'm going to cut up some slack there. This Vegas defense is a far cry from that Buccaneers defense they faced. They had a bye week to regroup after that loss here. I think Ken Walker should have a big game versus the Raiders here on the ground. So I'm laying the 4 with the Seahawks here. Pretty much just I can't back Josh McDaniels almost never again. But it's definitely scary because the potential this Raiders team has.
Yeah, listen. So I'm actually gonna agree with Sean on a lot of those points there. I'm not gonna bet more than a half unit on this. Let's just put that out there right now. I hate riding with the public. It actually kills me. But simply put, what the hell have the Raiders showed us? I mean, this is what I'm looking at right now. This is what really stood out to me when I was researching this game. The Raiders are 3-1 against the spread against the AFC West. They're 1-5 against the spread against all other teams. Guess what team they covered against? The Texans. Wow. Congratulations. This team simply isn't good. They only play divisional opponents tough. And considering that 2 of those covers I was just talking about was against the Broncos, who are just as pitiful against the spread, I'm just not seeing it. The Seahawks have been absolute wagons covering the last 4 or 5 games, 3-1 against the spread at home. The only area that I see from a sharp perspective is I could see Kenneth Walker struggling on the ground here. Everybody's talking about the Raiders tackling and stuff like that. The Raiders have shown that they could show up in the rush defense standpoint before. So I think maybe he struggles on the ground. But then you got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett on the outside. Mix in Noah Fant getting a little bit hot. I don't know. It's so tough. Also, I just don't want to back Josh McDaniels. What is his record against the spread since he got caught cheating? Like, 4 and 50 million? Like, he's just a garbage man, garbage ass coach. Fuck him. I'm fading him.
A garbage man. Alright, Chargers, Cardinals. This sucks. Give me the Cardinals +3. Ready for something terrifying? The Chargers are an NFL best 5-0 against the spread on the road. Jesus. But the line movement here is serious. Like, it dropped from 5 down to 3, despite Chargers being a huge public play. Remember I said the Seahawks were the most public play on the board? Well, I want to know what the second most public bet is. It's the Chargers and the Dolphins are pretty even. They're the second two. But so if everyone's on the Chargers, why would this line drop 2 whole points? Because the news about Kyler Murray is playing broke. I mean. What? I mean, it didn't sway the action at all. The books dropped the line 2 points. Everyone's still betting the Chargers. One thing is always true. The sports books are never trying to lose money, ever. Like, there are times where the sports books are wrong, and this year in the NFL they've been wrong a lot. But they're never trying to lose money. If they drop the line, everyone's betting the Chargers, and they drop the line. They want more people to bet the Chargers. And also, this is a bit of a flat spot for the Chargers here. They lose a heartbreaker to the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football last weekend. Next weekend, they go to play a division rival Raiders team. This is a road game against an NFC team. probably going to be the most meaningless game on the remainder of the Chargers schedule. Chargers right in the middle of an AFC playoff hunt, so every single game matters, don't get me wrong, but the next 4 games are Raiders, Dolphins, Titans, Colts. Like 4 AFC teams, one's a division game, and the other 3 right in the playoff hunt with the Chargers. Those 4 games are going to determine whether the Chargers make the playoffs or not so much this one. Meanwhile, on the other side, it's just like a level of desperation that goes with the Cardinals. Kyler Murray just got paid, but like all of a sudden it's like, is he playing for his job? Probably not. But like, there's a part of that. Cliff Kingsbury is certainly coaching for his job. I think we could say Kyler Murray playing to win some of the faith of the fans in the front office back. It just seems like the Cardinals need this game a lot more than the Chargers do. And one last thing. So remember the Chargers-Falcons game? We have Falcons and the Chargers. Like the Falcons recovered a fumble in a 17-17 tie. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah.
And he was running back with the ball, and then he dropped it, and the Chargers picked it up and kicked the game-winning field goal. If he doesn't drop that ball, the Chargers would be 0-3 against the NFC this year. So the Chargers really haven't gotten up for these non-conference games. I mean, this line is begging everyone to take the Chargers, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not laying any serious money, but I think I'll put a full unit on it. Give me the Cardinals +3.
I'm on the Arizona boat too, buddy. Listen, the previous game I couldn't find anything, so I refused to go sharp. This game, I feel like I found a little bit of something. Now Marquise Brown is returning for this Cardinals team, and now it's not only that you have to worry about DeAndre Hopkins, but the verticality that Marquise Brown brings, and that's pretty big considering the other guys they have. Rondale Moore has like an ADOT of like 4.3 yards. The guy does not run deep routes whatsoever. And Greg Dortch is not a deep route runner either. This is going to bring a whole new element to the Cardinals offense when you have not only Marquise Brown bringing that vertical threat, but DeAndre Hopkins, who's simply a receptions machine. And guess what? Guess what the Chargers pass defense struggles against? The deep ball. 22nd in deep ball DVOA. So I'm expecting Marquise Brown to get some nice looks in this one. And for the Cardinals to move the ball, another thing I noticed, go ahead and look at James Conner's rush prop for today. It's at 63.5. Buddy hasn't even sniffed that for most of this season. I think he has one game over that total. Why is it set like that? Because he's probably going to run all over their asses. The Chargers' rush defense has been nothing short of pathetic, and just about anybody can rack up some yards on them. I'm not going to bet it's over because that line's a bit insane, but not a bad bet at all. What my really favorite bets are for this game besides the Arizona is just fading the Cardinals against tight ends. It has been a steady cash cow for me and for other people as well, and they've allowed their last 9 of 10 tight ends to hit their reception total and the last 8 of 10 to hit their yard total. We just saw George Kittle enter the Arizona game off his worst game of the season and absolutely shat on them. We saw Noah Fant go off against his team twice. You know how many times Noah Fant has 4+ receptions this season? Just twice. Both of them against the Cardinals. Everybody and their mother is doing work to the Cardinals. Tyler Higbee had 3 receptions through 3 weeks headed into his last matchup against the Cardinals. He had 8 and 84 yards. Keep giving me them overs against the goddamn Cardinals, baby. I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on the Cardinals here. Mainly, yes, because that line movement, it makes no sense. Everybody is on the Chargers, and the line just keeps dropping. Basically, the books are asking you to put even more money out on the Chargers in this one. But that being said, this is a big game for Kyler Murray, I feel like. Low-key, like I've been saying it. I don't know if you guys share the same sentiment I have. That offense looked a little bit better with Colt McCoy back there. It looked on schedule.
Yeah.
The wide receivers for the Cardinals were putting together better numbers than they had been all year. Mainly because McCoy had the offense on schedule, was making on-time throws, wasn't scrambling around like Kyler does sometimes. And there's a lot of questions about his leadership. The last time he played, him and Hopkins arguing on the sideline. There's no excuses in this one. You have D-Hop back, James Conner's healthy, you have Marquise Brown back. I think we're going to see a really good performance out of Kyler and the Cardinals offense here. And then when you're banking on Cliff Kingsbury or Brandon Staley, you just have to hope that your coach, the one that you take, doesn't go full moron. And so at home, I'm going to take Kingsbury to not go full moron and Brandon Staley to do something dumb.
I can live with that. I can live with that reasoning. All right, next game for me. Is it the Rams?
I flip-flopped in this one.
Give me the Rams plus 15.5.
Yes.
Beaver.
Baby. Yeah, baby.
Shit. I promise. Actually, I don't want to promise because by 4:25, I'll have a few Johnny Walker Blacks in me, and all bets might be off. But I'm going to try to promise you guys that I will not bet more than a half unit on this game. Like, please don't do it. I'm begging my future drunk self more than a half unit on this game. So how do you beat the Chiefs? You run the ball. Rams have one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL. I mean, really, not off to a good start. Really, the only angle you can make for the Rams here is that with Bryce Perkins at quarterback instead of Stafford, they have more of a dynamic rushing attack. Also, something that no one's really seen. Kind of like how Malik Willis the Chiefs off guard for a little bit, for a quarter and a half, but he did catch them off guard with a couple RPOs on that Sunday Night Football game, Titans-Chiefs. But just like the Chargers, this is such a flat spot for the Chiefs. They beat the Chargers last week, their division rival, on Sunday Night Football. Awesome game. Come from behind win. Then next week, they have... Wait. So then they have shitty home game against the shitty NFC Rams. Not even a conference opponent. Then next week, they go on the road to Cincinnati to play the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. This is sandwiched in between two of the biggest games of the year for the Chiefs. That being said, I think the practice squad for the Chiefs cover this against the Rams. So, like, there is part of me that's like, who cares if it's a flat spot? They suck. I obviously, because of that, like, the handicap is this is a spot to play the Rams, but the Rams have shown us such a small amount of football talent this year. I mean, I'm taking the Rams. I don't want to talk about this game anymore. It's pissing me off. I'm taking the Rams, small bet.
Yeah, so I'm also going to take the Rams, and you know what? I really didn't want to. I was all over the Chiefs. I mean, I was looking at what the Rams defense has been doing lately, and I'm not happy with them either. They've allowed 27 plus points in their last 3 or 4 games, and their last 2 games, they allowed 27 points to Colt McCoy and Andy Dalton back-to-back. This is Patrick Mahomes. So that's definitely a pretty scary proposition. I'm not going to go ahead and sit here and lie. But dude, what the Chiefs just like don't cover spreads at home. Let's just go ahead and look at some of their games this year at home. 1 second. Chiefs against the spread at home. And they're 1-4 against the spread. They haven't even come close to covering a number this big. And remember that game against the Titans where we were like, Jesus Christ, we can't bet on Malik Willis. This guy is so fucking bad. Well, you know what? The Titans defense played strong. They were able to chew the clock, and they were able to cover that game. And quite frankly, Bryce Perkins, how much worse can this guy be than Malik Willis? He's probably better than Malik Willis. And we saw him use those legs against the Saints effectively last week. If there is one, I mean, the Chiefs defense is so bad too, which doesn't help. But not only do I like the Rams plus 15.5, but I like them in the first half. I need to get a line on that. I believe it's going to be at around 8.5. But the Chiefs do not start out strong at home. They're only averaging 10 points per game in the first half at home, 17 points per game in the second half. And that's led to them not covering a lot in the first half. Meanwhile, the Rams, they come out pretty hot every game. The Chiefs aren't going to know what to expect from Bryce Perkins, so maybe they catch that Chiefs defense off guard. I like it. I like the Rams, baby.
It looks like Jess, the Chiefs, in the comments saying, save us. So it looks like Jess, for those of you who don't know, Jay Rube, that's Jess, our tennis girl, and there's pretty much a month and a half break for tennis, obviously for the winter and everything, and so she was so hot and is taking a break, and all I get is messages like, where are Jess's picks? Like, people are having withdrawals from Jess.
She's
so Sean, I actually won the Chiefs first half or something. I forgot what I saw in your notes. Go ahead, Sean.
Mine 15.5, but I mean, like you guys said, like, I can't even say you're crazy for taking the Rams because the Chiefs don't cover spreads. And this is 15.5 in an NFL game. Like, we just literally talked about why we had to take the plus 14 with the Texans, and now it's another 1.5. But this is a special circumstance. Like, this, to me personally, if this number would have to be like 20 to feel comfortable taking the Rams here. It's Bryce Perkins. behind a terrible offensive line, 2 running backs on the entire roster. Not sure if either one of them are any good. No Cooper Kupp, no Allen Robinson, and a defense that's not playing very good right now. I have to take the Chiefs and try to lay this number. Like you guys said, it's not going to be a big, even only throw it in a parlay, honestly. But that being said, yeah, I don't love it, but I can't bet the Rams. Because if I bet the Rams with Bryce Perkins and all that going on, and then the Chiefs win 40, then I'm going to punch myself in the face.
Right, that'll be one to suck. Like if you bet the Chiefs heavy, watch that. Like watch a stupid Bryce Perkins backdoor cover when the game was like 35-6 or something. That would be
exactly the back doors with this number. The back door is always open.
Yeah. Next game, players.
Saints Niners.
All right. Call me PD Public on this one. But I love San Francisco, and dude, there's a lot of sharp money on the Saints, and not just like I checked a few sites. Everyone is reporting sharp money on the Saints. So, what's going on here?
I went to go change the picks on the screen, and I've actually deleted the goddamn thing on the side.
I don't care about the money line. I don't care about it. They can see the logos. Just do the picks. Okay. Put 49ers on there for me.
Okay.
All right. So, first of all, the Saints are 0-4 against the spread on the road this year. It might be the point where New Orleans is an auto fade in away games. Look at their last 3 road games. This is like comical. The last 3 road games for the Saints. They get beat by double digits in Pittsburgh. The Cardinals beat them by 8. Carolina beats them by 8. They've gotten beat by an average of 8.7 points by the Steelers, Cardinals, and Panthers. They're getting beat bad by multiple positions by the Steelers, Cardinals, and Panthers. That just gives you an idea of what this Saints team is on the road. It's one of the worst football teams in the NFL. Meanwhile, the 49ers are banging on all cylinders right now. I actually thought, just as Sean was saying before in the Cardinals game, I actually thought Colt McCoy did pretty well on Monday night against the 49ers. Arizona was moving the ball a little bit. If you look at McCoy's number, I mean, he really wasn't terrible at all. And San Francisco still beat their asses by 4 touchdowns, 28 points. This isn't a letdown spot or anything like that for the 49ers. They're tied with San Francisco for the NFC West lead. This is an NFC game. Will count towards a potential tiebreaker in playoff seeding, in wild card seeding, and this game matters. This is not a letdown spot. Look, so I everything points to the 49ers, so what I tried to do was try to find some reasons. I want to understand why the Sharps like the Saints, and I couldn't find much. The only thing I could see is maybe the Saints can have success getting the ball to Kamara in the passing game, because the 49ers defense is still banged up, even though they get Ibuka back. They get one of their edge rushers back. So that's something that Colt McCoy was having success doing last week. Quick drops, get the ball out with 3-step, 5-step tops. And that's something that Andy Dalton can do with Kamara, I guess. But even less, like I said, last week, Colt McCoy was doing that and it worked with it a little bit. They still lost by 4 touchdowns. So I'm not seeing any reason to play the Saints here. I don't care that the Sharps like it. I don't. I'm laying the 9, and I'm pretty strong on this one. Real quick, did I put this in the top bets? I'm almost positive I did. Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry. But it just missed. If I did an 8th top bet, it would be 49ers.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I mean, what the hell is going to make me bet on Andy Dalton here? Yeah, he's coming off a nice win against the Rams at home. But, I mean, have you seen the Rams? Have you? They are just about as dysfunctional as it gets. Now you're going to put the Saints on the road, which they just simply haven't covered at all whatsoever. You're going to put Andy Dalton in the 4 p.m. slot, which is about as close to primetime as it gets. The closer to primetime it gets, the worse Andy Dalton gets. And while the 49ers pass defense has been quite pissed as of late, they are rather opportunistic. They know that Alvin Kamara is likely going to get the bulk of the carries here, and what they're going to do is they're going to commit all they can to shutting him down, make Dalton beat them, and I really don't like that. The 49ers have weapons in so many different directions that you don't even know where it's going to come from. The only position I think from the 49ers side that is almost more than likely to get shut down is the tight end position, and that's why I'm going Kittle under 45 and a half receiving yards. Minus 110. Talk about a sell high spot. I mean, Kittle last week went ballistic against a Cardinals defense that is the single worst in the NFL. I just told you guys earlier with that Gerald Everett bet, we're betting it strictly because the Cardinals are so bad. And guess what? We cashed our Kittle bet on Thursday night. Sorry, Kittle, but I'm turning the page here. Now you're facing the number one defense against tight ends, and that is a misery. 11 tight ends have faced the Saints this year. 10 of them have gone under this total and have gone under their own total. So they're just completely shutting down tight ends. And if you look, I was doing some line reading. His receptions total was at 4.5 juice to the under. It got moved to 3.5. With 4 or less receptions, Kittle's gone under his last 13 of 16 games and has gone under 7 straight home games, averaging just 30 yards. Tons of value on the Kittle under here today. There's a reason FanDuel has this at 43.5. Love me some Kittle under.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys, except I'm not going to be laying the full 8.5 in this one with the 49ers, although I would never bet the Saints, so I'm in agreement with you that the 49ers can cover this number. I'm teasing the 49ers with the Eagles here in this one, and I'll say why I like the Eagles, obviously, with the next game. But 49ers are just the better team here with the Saints at home in this one. Andy Dalton just primed to have a few turnovers with this pass rush on his ass. I'm going to feel more comfortable about this bet once the Saints injury report gets figured out, because Davenport, Cam Jordan, and Lattimore are all still questionable. But
I think it's not definite yet, but I think they're going to play.
Okay, yeah, that came down a little bit. It was 9 yesterday. Yeah, said 49ers much better team. McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell should feast versus Saints run defense that's 23rd in yards allowed on the ground. And then Jimmy G is safe with the football. He's not going to turn it over, put the team in harm's way, which is what the Saints really need with their lackluster offense. They're going to need short fields and turnover opportunities to really be able to generate an offense here, and Jimmy is just not the quarterback that's going to provide that. That being said, I'm teasing it down to 2.5. When you're teasing, the key numbers to go 3, that meets this criteria here. So, yeah, give me the 49ers tease down to 2.5.
All right, tease Lord. And I believe we're last game, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm taking the Pack plus 6.5. We obviously know the Packers are playing poorly this year, right? It's not a secret. But did you know that Green Bay's actually 3-1 the spread as underdogs this year? And you want to know their only loss against the spread as an underdog? Minnesota in week 1. So despite what you may have in your head about Green Bay, the Packers are 3-0 against the spread as underdogs since week 1. Now, they're not just an underdog. They're catching 6.5 points here. They're big underdogs. As far as the Eagles go right now, I think it's starting to look pretty clear that the second most important player on the Eagles offense is not A.J. Brown. It's Dallas Goedert, or at least that's what it looks like to the naked eye right now. We're talking about a passing offense that was ranked 3rd in the NFL in weeks 1 through 9. In weeks 10 through 11, the 2 games without Goddard, the Eagles passing offense is all the way back at 23rd. Now, let's be fair. They played 2 good defenses in Washington and Indianapolis. You got to mention that. But you know who has a really tough defense to throw on? Green Bay. In fact, if you go through the Packers' schedule, they've really only gotten torched through the air twice all year. Last week against Tannehill, and honestly, they prepped to stop Derrick Henry. They just were not prepared for Ryan Tannehill to drop back and throw the ball downfield on them in the snow. I think that shocked all of us. And the other time that the Packers defense had trouble slowing a quarterback down was week 1, Kirk Cousins. Now, that's not a deal breaker because the Eagles are still an elite rushing football team. And that's the biggest weakness for the Packers defense. There's been several teams that were able to just keep Aaron Rodgers off the field running the ball on the Packers defense. The problem is I can see Green Bay doing the exact same thing to the Eagles defense, who also has the same weakness. Philly's been struggling defending the run all season. So I think we're going to see a super conservative game plan from both head coaches here. I think both LaFleur and Sirianni, I think both head coaches truly believe that they can win this game if they just protect the football and run it. I think both think that. So we're in a game like that, I don't want to be laying 6.5 points with either side. So I'll take Green Bay plus 6.5.
I actually love what you just said about your thoughts on the game plan. Feeds right into my bet. Give me the under in this one. Under 46.5. I feel like the Packers defense in terms of value is at an all-time low. You just saw Ryan Tannehill absolutely torch these boys, and the over in that game essentially flew over. So everybody's gonna be like, Jesus Christ, well, the Packers defense can't stop a nosebleed. Hammer the over. And honestly, that makes a lot of sense, but I'm starting to see a little bit of worry in myself about this Philly team. I thought that they could have done some nice work against the Colts last week on the road, and they just yet again seemed like they were stalling. Not only has the defense has looked fine, but the offense is starting to look a bit weird, and that's kind of worrying me. Listen, as a guy who's looked at Aaron Jones' rushing prop every single week and have lost on it 3 times, I know that when you think he's not gonna, I know that when he goes off, he's going to shit the bed the next game. He just shat the bed last game. This is the game where he's going to go off. We've seen him perform against top-tier opponents thus far as well. Against the Bills, ran all over them. Against the Cowboys, ran all over them. This is a big game. I'm expecting to see Aaron Jones use those legs, and I think his value and A.J. Dillon's value is at an all-time low after going against that Titans rush defense. Well, guess what? The Titans rush defense is number 1, expecting a much better rushing performance from Green Bay and for them to at least cover the number. I mean, I think 6.5 points, as bad as Green Bay has been, is a little disrespectful with the current, I would say, downtread that the Eagles are in. 0-3 against the spread in their last 3.
Nice. I could ride with the under. I'm down to have it on the VIP ticket right now, but I'm down to add that for half unit before I post. Sean, where are you at on this one? Are you siding? Oh no, you have your teaser for this one.
Yeah. This is the second leg of my teaser. Like you said, the Eagles have been struggling in the last few weeks. 0-3 against the spread in their last 3 games. So I don't feel comfortable laying over a full touchdown in this one. With them. That being said, I do think they win this game. This Packers defense this Packers run defense is absolute dog shit. Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts should both be able to have big games in this one on the ground. And then this Eagles defense, they're not going to get beat through the air. James Bradbury and Darius Slay versus these Packers receivers, I don't care who's playing quarterback, is a great matchup for the Eagles in this one. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the safety, leads the NFL in interceptions as well. He's playing very good. This Eagles secondary, I'm not worried about at all. I think the run defense obviously has been a big concern for the Eagles. But last week, Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh showed up, made their debuts, and Jonathan Taylor ran straight down the field on the opening drive and then finished the game with 65 yards the rest of the game. After that opening drive, the Colts as a team didn't even have 100 yards rushing. I expect them to show up again here. Their 2 big bodies going to make it hard to run on. So I'm not going to say the Eagles defense is absolutely terrible as they've shown before, because I have a 1-week sample. So it's not like I'm saying they're back at stopping the run, but I can't just ignore the fact that they went in and shut down the Colts team that primarily wants to run the ball with one of the best running backs in the NFL here. So I'm banking on them to have a bounce back and keep that going, stopping the run. And then I'm not worried about the secondary at all. And I think the Eagles do enough to just win this game.
Very fair.
All right. I can see that too. All right. That's it. I haven't given out a parlay on the live show, and I think I'm going to give one out. I have 3 on the VIP. Should I? All right. Real quick in the comments, do you guys want the high parlay, the medium low risk parlay, or the medium high risk parlay? Plus 589, plus 387, or plus 750.
I'm going to answer for them. Give us the high risk parlay, please.
Oh, no, that one's ugly. All right.
Nah, I need it.
This one's the teaser. Packers minus 2.5, 49ers minus 13.5 at plus 750.
So wait, what is it? Green Bay minus 2.5?
49ers minus 13.5 plus 750. I mean, if the 49er game goes like I expected, I'm basically saying Packers to win by a field goal at plus 750 is the way I see it.
Okay. All right. I love
that. That's the high risk one. You guys request high risk ones. What do you got? What do you got, AJ? It's 11:20. So let's get these.
Yeah, let's get it out of here. I don't got any crazy ass picks.
Sean, you have a parlay?
Yeah. Buccaneers -3.5, Jets -6.5, and then the over 42.5, and the Bengals Titans, and that's plus 588.
Cool.
If you want plus money, just go ladder, my boy Jeff Wilson.
All right, everyone, thank you. I'm clicking publish right now as I'm saying this on the VIP, and it is posted. So go, VIP's up. Let's have a great Sunday. Thanks again for. Sorry about the lag before. Let's have ourselves a good one. I hope everyone enjoys your day. Sean and HA, I'm sure I'll talk to you in the group. Let's have a good one.
Let's have a great day.
Dessert.
All right, so I just ended that.